What's up? What's up, everybody? Hey, back to another day of Entrepreneur Life Show, another day in the life of an entrepreneur. So I want to say thank you to everybody who tunes in on a regular basis on all of your very favorite podcast stations. We are excited to have you back. And for those who are maybe watching live on either Facebook or YouTube or LinkedIn Live, hey, what's up, everybody? We have a great show. We're looking forward to Saturday. I'm one of your hosts, Rose from McDonald Bookkeeping, and I'm here with my co-host.
Hey, everybody. It's Shamara here with SWHR Consulting, and we are super excited about our guest today.
We have a show, yes.
He needs to make us our own reality show, but let's give you a little bit of insight about who we have on our show today. His name is Darryl Silver. He is the founder of Ideal Factory, which is a production company, and he sells and creates reality shows. So we're excited to have him on the show, give us some insight about his journey and his production company and the types of shows that he produces. Let's get him on live. Let's get him on the
show. Going on. It feels like I've done nothing in my life. So hey, what's going on? Yay, hey. And he is here.
Hello. How's it going today?
We are doing well. We're excited to have you because you have so many ventures going on, and we're just happy that you are just giving our show some attention. It's just lovely.
I know. I'm like, we were just saying you should give us our own reality show. You know,
I'm ready, you guys. I mean, one of the things in a network, if I lined up 10 network executives in front of me and they would say, and I'd say to them, what are you looking for in a character? They'd say larger than life characters in worlds we haven't seen before. And I think we got the first part with you guys. So we just have to determine if it's a world we haven't seen before yet.
Okay, perfect. Well, we introduced you to the world. We want you to give your insight about who you are, tell them more about what you do, and then we'll go from there.
Sure. So I'm kind of doing three things right now. I have my production company where it's called the Idea Factory. I create and I sell and I produce reality TV shows. And then I also have a liquor company where I have a liquor distribution company where I actually have my own tequila brand. And then I also just launched a children's book that I had written, and I just had a successful Kickstarter campaign, and I actually got 1,000 books delivered to me like 3 days ago. So I've got my kids and my wife. We're all stuffing envelopes and we're shooting them out before it goes on to Amazon. So actually, it's kind of funny because all three of my businesses, I'm very busy even with Corona going on. I've got a lot to do because I've got in Mexico right now. I have 4,000 bottles being poured. I have a couple shows that I'm pitching around to networks via Zoom, and then my children's book I'm having to distribute and try and sell it. So I'm actually in a way busier now than I was when before the virus hit and we were all stuck at our house.
I love it.
I mean, so this is obviously a lot of different ventures. So obviously I guess when they say people who are in the entertainment industry, they're artistic, so their minds are all over the place because these are like three different types of things. So if you can kind of give us an idea of how you even got started, or what interested you, they kind of got your journey to your own entertainment industry.
Well, I'll go through it very quickly because we only have an hour. But as a child, I was so fascinated with the entertainment industry. I grew up in the Chicagoland area, and I watched a disgusting amount of TV as a child, to the point where one summer my mom was so sick of me watching TV that she said, go outside. And I said, okay. She left and came back 4 hours later. I was still in the same spot. And my mom actually cut the plug to my television set. She came with a pair of scissors, snipped it, and she left. And she's like, that's it, we're done. She left. I took the plug to the hardware store, said, I was 11 years old. I said, is there a way to fix this? It was like a 35-cent adapter. I fixed it myself. My mom came back home and I was watching TV and she said, I give up. Then I worked in a movie theater, and I still didn't know what I wanted to do. But when I was in college, I had a professor, and I'm going to blow through this quickly, but I had a professor who, you take one of those blow-off classes that are like, film study, and you just write papers on films. But I would write these like amazing like film these papers on like Citizen Kane and films like that. And one day he called me to his office. I thought I was in trouble or something. And he said, what major are you in? And I said, I'm in business school. And he goes, why? I'm like, I don't know. My dad told me to. And he literally said to me, he goes, you should be in radio, television, film, communication. You really have a knack for this. And I said to him, I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what that is, because I'm older than you guys. And back then, living in Illinois, like there's no thought pattern of like, oh, I live in Long Grove, Illinois, I'm going to go to Hollywood. It doesn't really exist. So you never really think about it. He goes, right. Go look at the classes. So I did. And I was like, film production, television production, right? I was like, holy cow, this sounds so much better than economics. So I switched my major the next day, and I just jumped into it, really, really hardcore. And I kind of became like the go-to guy in the department. And fast forward through to the end of college, I used to sit around with my friends, and everyone would talk about like, hey, what are you going to do when you graduate? And they'd be like, I'm going to go work at this TV station and local TV station. I'm going to go work at this radio station. And they'd be like, Darryl, what are you going to do? And I go like, I don't know. And one day somebody goes, Darryl's going to go to Hollywood. And then everybody laughed. And then that just kind of became a theme for like a half a year. And now graduation's coming around and people are like, what are you going to do? And I'm like, I'm going to Hollywood. And they're like, what do you think? Like, I have no idea, but these people think I can do it. So I'm going to go and figure it out. So I literally just drove to Hollywood, and I knew a couple people, and I got to Bakersfield, and I called the girl, and I said, I need a place to live. And she goes, when are you moving here? I go, I'm in Bakersfield. I just drove here. and I literally just started hitting the bricks, and I started in the mail. Believe it or not, I'm one of those stories. I started in the mailroom at Universal Studios, and I worked my way up, and I was a physical producer, which meant I could actually physically make the shows before I ever sold my first creative thing. I was actually a feature producer before I sold my first feature script. So I started in the feature world. And then through a crazy series of events, I kind of, I had an agent, and I said, I have all these reality ideas. And they said, no, you're a feature guy. Go write another movie. So I called a friend of mine, and I said, hey, do you know anybody in reality? And he said he did. And I said, can you set me up some meetings? He was a manager. And he said, sure. He set me up in 5 meetings, and I had a 5-way bidding war on my first show, which was called Bound for Glory. And so all of a sudden I was like, and Mark Burnett was one of the guys who was fighting over the show. And so ironically, I didn't give it to Mark Burnett. I gave it to somebody else, but I get a call. Now, mind you, I'd never done TV before. I get a call like 4 weeks later from the Burnett team asking me if I would come develop a show for them. And I didn't have anything to do, and they were going to, at the time, and they were going to give me a lot of money. And so I said, what is it? They said that we won't tell you until you sign your contract. So I was a big fan of Survivor. So I signed my contract, and I showed up the first day, and I said, okay, what's the show? And they said, it's Survivor in the City, and the winner gets to be Donald Trump's apprentice for a year. You guys need to figure out what the show is before the network asks us what it is. So I came on a concept of The Apprentice, and I produced the first 3 seasons. So now I sold my first reality show. I'm a producer on The Apprentice the first couple seasons. Now they like me so much they hire me on Survivor. Then I'm helping them.
Oh no! Don't go! Technical difficulty. So look, you guys, look, he's coming back. So if you're watching live, we've got Darryl Silva. He's got so much going on. He has his own production company. Let me tell you, if like they say, there's no business like show. Here he is. He's back. There's no business like show business. There he is. So now I'm on 2 of the top shows. I'm launching a 3rd top show. I've got my own show. And then very shortly, towards the end of season 3 of The Apprentice, I sold another show while I was working for Mark. So at the end of season 3, because I already had my own feature production company before this, it was a very easy transition for me now I had 2 of my own shows going to production. So now I leave the Burnett organization, and I've just been producing and creating my own shows ever since. And that's really how I got there. It's, but it wasn't that fast of a journey. I kind of blew through all the production. I was I was a production assistant. I was a assistant production accountant, production manager, line producer, post coordinator. I just kind of blew through it, but I really did the work that needed to be done so that I knew every step of the way. I have that, I'm one of the few guys in Hollywood. A lot of guys are either super creative and they create shows and sell them,
or they're guys who make them. And I've been blessed that the way my trajectory worked was that I not only can create a show, sell it, but the network actually also lets me make it. And there's not a lot of us in Hollywood who actually get to do all of that. So I'm kind of blessed that just accidentally the way I came through. And I think I can chalk it up to my Midwestern roots because I was too dumb not to know that I couldn't do it.
You were determined. You were motivated. You had the entrepreneurship.
I just didn't know any other way. I just didn't know any other way. So so now, I divide my time. One of the big things I do is I create a lot of the shows that I sell, but also, and it's cool that you have my site up there. If you look at where it says, pitch us your idea. Yeah. Pitch us your idea. Anybody can go on. No, the pitch one above that. Anyone can go to my website and they can pitch their own show. And I never know where a great show is going to come from. In fact, I had a show last year called Mama Medium on TLC, and a guy who works at a bar, his name's Mike Koshan, he's a bar manager in Syracuse, met this woman who was a psychic, thought she was great, shot a sizzle, somehow got it to me through my site. I sold the series. We made the show. His first credit in Hollywood was a co-executive producer on a TLC show. So, you never know where a great idea is going to come from. And I was actually blessed. There's a huge producer in Hollywood. His name is Don Mischer. And when I worked for him on a show called The Adventure of Mark and Brian, he didn't care who on the show, whether you were the producer or the production assistant. If you had a great idea for an episode, he'll run with it. He didn't go well, those guys are just assistants. They don't know anything. He's like, I'm paying all these people, and I really taken it that I never know if somebody who's going to walk through my door or send me an email or hit me up is going to have that amazing idea. So I don't dismiss them. Now, mind you, 99.99% of the ideas that come to me are absolutely terrible, but you never know. So you have to go through a lot of stuff to find that diamond in the rough. And I encourage people. I have a lot of people who've come to me with good ideas, but they're not right. And I'll say keep going, keep pitching me. And I've had people who've pitched me for 5 years. And finally I said, I like this one. Let's do it. And they this one guy, he was shocked. He's like, I didn't think you'd ever say yes to anything. It's been 5 years. But I also help them. I give them the information that I have because I have network knowledge. I know what most of the networks want. I know what they're looking for, how they're looking for it. So I take that knowledge, I give it to the people across the country who I like, who are pitching to me, these satellite producers, and so that they have a little insight that I have, because it only helps them and it only helps me.
So how difficult, for someone wanting to pitch a show, we can always have an idea. Right. But, do they have to have certain segments, at least a couple of weeks or months? Do they have say-so into the show?
No.
How does that work?
I always tell people, I go, you're going to get a credit. You're going to get a very little amount of money because that's how it works when you start out. You're at the bottom of the totem pole. I said, and with all due respect, I'm going to get the majority of the credit of the credit for the show because nobody knows who you are.
Right.
But I also tell people, I say, my goal in somebody, if I sell a show that somebody brought to me, my goal is that one day they don't need me to sell a show. There's nothing brings me more joy than somebody grows enough to where they don't need me anymore. And I encourage that and I help people. I don't hold on to all my knowledge. I feel I've been blessed that a lot of people over the years gave me knowledge and were very generous with their knowledge, that I feel it's important to give people knowledge. And I don't hold on to it tightly because I want people to grow and I want people to do well. So, they'll learn, but I also always tell people that let's say that we all did a show together and it was a success and now you guys are off. You two decided we don't need Darryl. We're going to go off and sell our own show. And you go to a network. Well, when they say, what happened with the Entrepreneur show, you're not going to sit there and go well, Darryl Silver's incredible. And Darryl Silver did this. I always tell people when you get into the room, you're
no.
You guys, this is so good. Okay, because you guys might want to learn to get on the show. Here we go.
I think you got okay.
Technology. But we can't hear you. Okay, here he is.
How about now? This is actually a brand new webcam, so I don't even know what to say. So I always tell people, when you go into a room, you're going to tell your own story. You're not going to tell my story. Just like when I go into the room, I'm going to tell my story. So, I always encourage people. I'm like, don't worry about the fact that I took it, I developed it, I sold it. When you go into a room, you get to talk yourself up. You get to talk about your journey. So I don't hold that. I don't try and keep people down, because there's, especially at this point in my career, I've done so many shows and so many things. Like it's more interesting for me to see somebody else get credit than it is for me to get credit. I don't need it anymore. My ego is fine.
So you mentioned that, you like to share information with people that are just up and coming or want to pitch their ideas to you. So how do they go about doing that? How do you go about sharing that information? Do you do seminars, webinars? How do you share your information so they can learn, really?
It's funny you say that, because, I'm talking more on a micro level. Like, if you pitch me a show and I like it, then I'll contact you. Then we'll get into it. You know what I mean? Okay. Then I'll start working with you. But having said that, and we'll get to my children's book in a while, I've gone through this 2.5-year journey to get this children's book out. And I joined these groups on Facebook of writers, children's books writers. And I actually have been, posting my journey. And I actually posted something like, hey, I got all my books. I got 1,000 books. I ordered them from China. And all these people started asking me questions, and I had literally hundreds of people asking me kind of the same question. So I had to make another post to talk about my journey of getting books from China, because it just became overwhelming. So, whether it's my book, whether it's the liquor company, whether it's entertainment, I have no problem sharing that information. But having said that, though, you need to come to the table with something. I can't just sit with people who, there's a lot of people who have, with all due respect, aren't creative, don't have good ideas, or more importantly, haven't done the work. I get people who pitch me and they'll send me a one line of it should be a show about a bunch of kids who get crazy. And I'll be like, I'll be like, I've had people pitch me it's a cross between Survivor and The Apprentice. And I always say 2 shows I worked on. I'm pretty sure we got that covered. So I respond to people who do a ton of work ahead of time. The more you do to get it to me, the better chance you'll have that I will get engaged, which is really the key to this whole thing. If you can engage me, then I might move forward with you, and that's the trick. Engage the person. But, people always come to me and they say, I meet people and what do you do? It's like, I'm a writer. I'm like, oh, what have you written? They go, well, I'm thinking about this idea about cows, and I'm thinking about this, this thriller about a guy in a boat. And I'm like, oh, that's, sounds interesting. I'm like, so how much have you write it? Well, I'm just at the thinking phase. And I always say to them, I go, well, you're not a writer. They go, yeah, I am a writer.
You haven't written anything.
I go, you're not a writer. I go, you're a thinker. I go, a thinker's not a writer. I go, even if you're a bad writer, you're still a writer once you put it down on paper. I always say the hardest part of writing is actually sitting down and writing. And so I always encourage people, just start writing, even if it's bad. Write bad stuff. Because you gotta become a bad writer. I wrote 5 scripts before I got signed by an agency. It's and I knew some of them were okay and some of them were better and good. But when I wrote my 5th script, I was like, wow, I knew this was great, and I knew this was the script that was going to get me an agent because it was that good. So you have to fail, to succeed. But it takes a lot of work, and it's a lot of work that doesn't pay money, and there's no glory, and you got to keep going. It's crazy.
No, because that's exactly the entrepreneur spirit. I think a lot of people think that, hey, it's a one and done type of thing. You have to keep working at it, and understand that failures are not failures. That's a way for you to learn and continue to grow. So I love that you said that.
Failure is just one more step closer to a success.
Yes, one more step closer. Perfect.
Okay, so I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Oh, I have a show treatment, developed and registered, and author of 4 books. That's a statement.
Oh, true. That's a statement. Sorry about that. I didn't know if you had oh, wait. So, yeah, she's just making another one to you. Sorry about that. Okay.
Got to do the work, yeah.
And so now, what would you say your most interesting pitch that somebody, and I want to get to the tequila and the book, because this show might be a little longer because you have a lot going on. What would you say would be the most interesting pitch that someone for a show came to you with that was just it could have either been yes, it's a hit, or like, oh no, we're not even going to go there.
I mean, I'll tell you the story that actually got made. This guy brought me this show called Half-Pint Brawlers in like 2007. It's on there. It's Little People Wrestling. Back then we were able to use the M word, but it's Little People Wrestling. And my business partner at the time was like, we're not doing it. They're like, I don't want to be in that business. And I'm like, we're not only doing it, we're selling this show. This is going to be a series. And we shot a sizzle and we took it to Spike. And the executive at the time said, absolutely not, we're not doing this show. And I was like, this is an insane show. We have to do it. And I took it to my agent. I said, I can't believe she's not doing it. The show was perfect for Spike. And my agent, who happened to be friends with the president of Spike at the time, took a DVD. This was in the DVD days. Took a DVD and took a buck slip. You know what a buck slip is?
No.
A buck slip is those little pieces of paper that just have the name of your company on top where you can write a little note. And she included a buck slip with it and sent it to him and said, I dare you to make this show. And so she went over the senior VP's head, sent it directly to him, and he called that day and said, I'm buying 21 episodes.
Oh.
So, but the problem is the network salespeople were so afraid of the show because it was like so crazy at the time, which is funny because Little People shows are everywhere now and they're hits. But at the time we were the first one. And the salespeople literally said, we feel this show will destroy the network and make the network go away. It is, we don't know one advertiser that will advertise on it. So having said that, I made a deal with the network and I said, okay, here's the deal. Let's split the show 50-50. I will own half the show. I will get advertisers. I will finance the show, but instead of you owning the show, I own the show. And I will give you the show free and we'll split the advertising 50-50. And they're like, let's do it. And that's how we got the show made. We raised the financing and we got the show made.
Wow, that's a pretty good story. So when you advertisers, advertising meaning they can also sponsor?
Well, sponsorship is at that time you could have sponsorship. It's a hard kind of thing to balance sponsorship because the networks will want a piece of that or a say of it. So at the time we were just like, let's just get it on the air. And here's the sad story. So the show airs, it's a hit, meaning our ratings are triple what was in its slot before. All the episodes air. The networks come back to us and we're like, this is great. Like, are you guys ready to do season 2? And they're like, our advertising said they couldn't sell any spots. We can't do the show. We're like, but it was triple your ratings. They're like, we can't sell advertising. Nobody wants to buy the show. Everybody's terrified. And so it only did one season because of that.
Wow. Okay.
So when you do get people that, the again, you kind of said they come, but the ideas didn't really add up. I saw that you have some type of camp on your website. So do you recommend attend your camp so that they can get better at pitching?
Well,
how does it actually work? Yeah.
IFTV is actually an internship program. And it's funny because I used to have an internship at my office and then I stopped doing it because it became a distraction. And then some of the colleges around the country that I was dealing with said, hey, we still want people. And I said, well, why don't we do a virtual internship? And so I actually have year-round virtual internships where we do it through Google Docs. We do it through Skype. And so right now I have I have a half a dozen people who just, work on projects and I give them assignments and I give them, I teach them things they need to know. And nothing that, some of the stuff I might use in a later date, but it's really just kind of helping them learn. And I don't believe in it just being busy work. I never believed in the whole you're an intern, just go get me coffee thing.
Right.
To me, that's a waste of time of somebody who worked really hard to get an MBA or graduate college. I put people into like learning how to do development, things like that, and I try and talk to them and figure out what their strengths are, so that I can kind of put them in the direction that they want to be in. Because I have so many things going on in all my businesses that I can always find something that somebody would want to do.
Is this something a tool that a person can use possibly later? Then it can be something that they can either pitch to you later for the show because they've gone through the whole, the whole expression of the journey with you and helping, and where they're learning how to actually pitch a show?
I've had people do both. I've had some people who did a great job and they moved on. And then I've had people who came back and pitched me stuff.
Question.
Yeah, you can absolutely recommend people to my program. You just have to have them, tell them to go sign up. And, look, I've had people, what I tell people in the program is you get out of it what you put into it. And I don't chase you. You have to chase me. I tell people you have to chase me because I'm a busy guy. And I have some people who, start and then, they're just like, I say, okay, like I give them something to do. We get set up. All right, let's get, whatever the assignment is for next Thursday. And then they don't contact me. And then, or, I'm not going to chase these people because I don't need them. And I want people who are like chomping at the bit. I want people who are like, that's one of the things about coming from the Midwest is that you want it bad, whatever it is, you want it. And you're ready to, it's a jump how high mentality. And so a lot of the people who wind up in my internship programs are people from across the country in the Midwest, because I find the people from the Midwest tend to want it more, let's say.
So I do want to kind of go in because you have some other things going on.
Sure.
And so I want to talk about the tequila though, because I thought that was pretty when I saw your brand, that is the best brand when you see this. I mean, I love it. I don't know where you got that idea, but so let's talk about how you went from that to tequila.
So one of my best friends' name is Jim, and he's been in the liquor business for 25 years. And in 2011, 2012, we were sitting in my pool one day and he said, I have this idea for a tequila. And he's a guy who helps launch brands and he's a salesman for big tequila companies. And I said, well, what was your idea? And he pitches me this idea. And I said, gosh, I really like it. And he showed me a kind of a napkin drawing. And I'm like, God, I really like it. I said, but because I'm in the entertainment industry, I know a lot about distribution. I know distribution of television. I know distribution of film. And without distribution, you have nothing. You have just, you have a product or an idea. And I said to him, I go, look, how are we going to distribute this thing? I'm like, because he didn't have money. So he wanted me to finance it. I said, how? He goes, well, we'll go to one of the big guys and hopefully they'll distribute it. I said, well, what if they don't? He goes, well, then I'm not sure what we're going to do. And I said, well, I'll make you a deal. I said, what does it take to become a distributor? Again, me being naive, I just think it's easy. He goes, well, one of us has to be approved. And I said, well, you've been in the business 25 years. Do you think you can get approved? He goes, I think so. He goes, we need a warehouse. I said, well, I have in my production company, I had a 5,000 square foot warehouse. And he goes, we need like $10,000 for the application. I said, well, I'll make you a deal. I said, if we can get approved as a distribution company, I'll invest in the brand. I said, because I want to have control over distribution. I said, because I don't want to get in a situation where we have 20,000, 10,000, 5,000 bottles of liquor and we don't have anybody to sell it to. So lo and behold, unbeknownst to me, it's a very hard thing to get a distribution license. We not only got a distribution license, we got an import and export worldwide license. We have beer, wine, and spirits. So we are a full end-to-end liquor production distribution company. And then we formed another company to start our tequila company. And we sell it as fast as we can make it. Every bottle's handmade, and every bottle is, it's an artisan bottles from Jalisco Tequila. And again, this goes into marketing and promotion. We have people who've created companies around our bottles. We have people we have a company in California that takes our old bottles and they call it Drunken Craft. And you can go to them and they take our old bottles and they make lamps out of them. Wow. And it's the craziest thing. And all of a sudden our Instagram started taking off. And the funniest part of our bottles is the marketing kind of helped itself, because we were sitting at a bar one day. We were going to talk to an owner of a bar, and there's a group of like 10 people behind us, and it was a group of people just drinking. They're having a good time. And the guy walked up and goes, we want more shots. And he goes, and I want the bottle for my girlfriend. And the bartender didn't know who we were. The guy didn't know who we were. And he goes, whoever drinks the last shot gets the bottle. And Jim and I looked at each other and the guy goes, empty it. And he goes, the guy laid out like 10 shots and he emptied the bottle and he goes, here you go. And Jim and I were like, oh my God, we couldn't believe it happened. And so we happened to be at the right place at the right time. So then we started saying to every single bar, because we had bars, because the bottles are all hand painted, they're works of art. So we had bars where we'd come back and they'd be like, what do you want to do with these bottles? There'd be like 20 of them in the back. We'd be like, here's what we've found is good. And so then now we have all of our bars, restaurants that give them away whoever empties the bottle. So what a crazy marketing coup that that we didn't even try to do. So now every one of our bars and restaurants has that. And then when somebody gets a bottle, what's the first thing they do with it? They put it on Instagram. They show all their friends.
Yeah. Right.
And so we learned very quickly that, marketing and, that's one of the great things of how Jim created this bottle is that the bottle is the key to the whole thing because people just love their bottle. The question is, do you want just a clear bottle sitting on your bar back or do you want this piece of art sitting on your bar back? And that's really been a big part of our success. The other thing is because we're streamlined, we're considered a top shelf brand, but we sell at mid-shelf prices. So we're able to go in, pitch all this amazing stuff, tell them about it, and then say, oh, by the way, we're going to give it to you cheaper than those other guys who have top shelf brands. So you're going to make more money if you push our brand. And so we've really created this nice 360-degree marketing campaign that really works well for our brand. But we're selling it so fast that like right now I don't have any. I literally have 5,000 bottles sitting in Jalisco, Mexico that are being poured right now. And I've got a stack of orders sitting here ready to send them out as soon as we get them. And I've got another 10,000 bottles right behind it. So it's a growing problem that we have, but it's a good problem.
So this is kind of something you fell into, just like wasn't intended.
It wasn't intended, but now after what 8 years of it, this is a career. I mean, I know end to end everything about launching a brand. I know everything about building a brand, selling a brand. I mean, I now know how to do all this stuff. It's amazing how these things just kind of lay themselves out.
Okay, so that being said, because you just kind of in a sense sort of built your way into the directing executive and into the entertainment part of it. That seems to be the pattern. So then let's talk about then the book.
Well, here's the thing. If you're a writer, you're a writer, you're a writer. I think that, I have so many crazy ideas. I mean, I've gone out with a show where, years ago when SpaceX was a new thing where we're going to shoot somebody into space. I'm doing scripted shows. I have multiple ideas for books. And what happened was I used to go to the zoo. I have 3 children. They're not little children anymore. My youngest is 19. I got 19, 23, and 21. And we used to play this game with the okapis. And I thought the word okapi was so weird to me, and the animal was so weird because an okapi looks like multiple different animals. It looks like it's got zebra legs, it's got a horse's body, it's got giraffe ears. It's actually most related to the giraffe. And I was so fascinated with the book, with the word okapi that I used to play with my kids because we used to go to the zoo every weekend. I used to let my wife sleep on the weekend, and I would take the kids for the day just to give her a break. And so I came up with this game where we rhyme things about okapi. So I'd say, what do you get when you cross a bunny rabbit with an okapi? What do you get?
I don't know.
A hoppy okapi. What do you get? What do you get when an okapi is riding a horse?
Oh gosh, that's a good.
I'm asking you a question. What do you get when you
what do you get with the what?
When an okapi is riding a horse?
I don't know.
A jockey okapi. What do you get when an okapi is driving around in a beat up old car?
I don't know.
A jalopy okapi. So this went on for years and years and years, and I always thought to myself, I have like 40 or 50 of these, and I'm like, my kids would start doing it, and I always thought this would make a really cute children's book. First of all, nobody knows what an okapi is. I have a friend of mine who knew I was writing this book. It took 2.5 years, and literally, I got the first copy, and I was reading it to his daughter to see what she thought. He thought it was a fake animal that I invented. So I finally sat down one day to write the book, and I realized I needed some sort of narrative. So because an okapi is is an animal that's like a lot of different animals. I created a narrative of it's the quintessential narrative of like she doesn't know what she is, so she goes on an adventure into town to try and figure it out. And the narrative is, at the end of it, she learns that it's okay just to be her. It's a really sweet story, but I never intended that. And by the way, I never intended that to happen during a time, in the world where like LGBTQ and so many things are like, just be yourself. And so it's really resonated with a lot of different groups of people, not just as a simple children's book. So then the question becomes, the great story is, I sent it to my agent, and of course, she always knows I'm doing crazy stuff. And I said, at the end of a meeting, I was like, by the way, I wrote a children's book. Would you have a couple minutes to listen to it? And she started laughing. She's like, what are you talking about? So this was before I had the illustrations done. So I read it to her, and she goes, oh my God, I see plush dolls. I see a cartoon series. She's like, I love it. She's like, it's amazing. So then I started sending it out to publishers, and I had a couple publishers who really liked it. But what happened was, it's a long book. It's 44 pages. For a children's book, that's long. Mm-hmm. And there are some words that are a little bit bigger than the targeted age, but not a lot. And so the publishers were like, look, we love it, but we want it to be half the length. We want some of these words taken out, and there's too many words on the page. And I said, okay. I said, well, let's talk about illustrators. What are you thinking? They're like, oh, we handle that. You're not part of that. So I said, okay, so you want my book to be half as long. You don't like the amount of words on the page. Some of the words are too big, and I don't get to have a say what the illustrator is. Mm-hmm. And if anything, 37 minutes into this call with you, you probably can imagine that I didn't take that well, considering I'm an entrepreneur who likes to have control of things and do things myself. And by the way, I've been pretty successful doing it that way. Oh, she wants to be added back in. Shamar, did you see that?
Yeah.
Okay. And so I've been pretty good at getting a lot of big things sold. So I tend to go with my gut on things. So I said, you know what, I'm just going to do this myself, because if I do what they say, it's no longer really the book I envisioned. And once you lose the soul and heart of your project, then I'm no longer interested in it.
Right.
And it's not what you envisioned. So I started looking at illustrators, because I was kind of at that point. And illustrators domestically, first of all, I didn't find anybody I liked. And then the one illustrator who I just thought was just okay wanted $190 a page. And so now I'm thinking to myself,
wow,
$190 a page, and I have 44 pages. I'm like, this guy's going to make $5,000. How am I going to ever recoup?
Yeah.
So I went on this website called Fiverr, which is, I love Fiverr. I don't know if you've used
Fiverr. Yeah.
I'm an enormous Fiverr fan.
Same here.
Oh, great. And I found this, I auditioned people. I said to I found people whose art I liked, and I probably auditioned about 10 people. And I said, here's page 16. Here's just the words. Just send me what you think. And I had a lot of great ones, but then this girl, Mary, came back, and it was absolutely phenomenal. 1,000 times better than the person who wanted $190 a page. And I negotiated with her, and I got her to do it for $12 a page.
That's a big cut, big break.
And she was thrilled. And actually, after a while, after the first dozen pages, she was like, hey, listen, Fiverr's taking like 25% of this, which I had no idea their fees were so big. Like, is it possible I could get a couple more? And I'm like, okay, how about $15 a page? And she's like, oh my God, she was so happy. And listen, I paid her a lot more than that, because I would give her I'd give her 100 here to do a bunch of revisions and 100 there, even though I didn't need to.
Yeah.
And as the book is successful, even though I don't have to, she doesn't even know this, but I'm going to send her more money. But it took about a year and a half for her to do it, because again, it's a big book. It's 44 pages long. And I had actually said to the publishers, I'm like, wouldn't it be great? I would read these books with my kids who were like 14 pages, and they'd be like, another. And I'd be like, isn't it good that it's a long book? Parents can actually read a longer book with their kids.
Yeah.
I think so. And so then I once you do that and you control your own IP, so then I did everything. I figured out how to get the barcode. I figured out how to get the Library of Congress number. I mean, there's so much to do to figure out. And then what I did was I started realizing that the people who really make the money in all this are the people who actually print the books domestically. So let's say that you want to print your book, okay? You can go through Amazon or one of these companies that do print on demand.
Yeah.
And it costs like $14.50 to print the book. So Amazon's making a lot of money. The printer's making a lot of money. And I realized that the artist is making the least and very little, if any, because children's books don't go for a lot of money as is. Mm-hmm. So I said, okay, well, how can I cut everybody out of the loop? So I started contacting on Alibaba about a dozen, 2 dozen printers in China. So then I spent probably 2-3 months going through printers, and I got the price of my book down with shipping. I paid for 1,000 books, $2,100. So my book costs about a little over $2 per book, as opposed to $15.
Wow.
So not only do I control the entire, all my IP of the book because no publisher has it, but I am also controlling the purchasing of all the book. Now, I know a lot of people out there might not have $2,000 handy to buy books, and I know that. So what I did was I decided to launch my book on Kickstarter.
Oh, I know Kickstarter. Yeah.
So I had a great Kickstarter campaign that I started like 45 days ahead of time before I even turned it on. And I started a Twitter page, an Instagram page, a Facebook page, and
oh no, we lost him, but we're going to get him back. Hold on. There's a disconnect in technology somewhere. Okay.
So we have a lot of technical issues today.
So I started all the social media pages and I started promoting it instantly. And then I realized to have a real successful campaign, what I needed was a partner, somebody else to help me. So one of the things I did was I'm like, who in the world knows about Okapis? So I contacted the Okapi Conservation Project, which is a charity to save Okapis. And I said to the guys, I'm like, look, I wrote this cute book and I sent it to them. I said, what can we do? And they said, well, why don't you come on and, if you donate a portion of your profits. So I'm donating a portion, 25% of the profits to the Okapi Conservation Project to save Okapis around the world. Not around the world. They're only one place. But yeah. By doing that, though, I got to an audience that was enormous. Believe it or not, there's this huge group of people around the world who love Okapis. And now I have the Okapi Conservation Project, which is the #1 Okapi entity in the world, as my partner on the book. So again, just like I'm marketing my shows and I'm marketing my liquor, I figured out a great way to market the book. And I pre-sold 4,500 books on Kickstarter. $4,500 worth of books on Kickstarter to a successful Kickstarter, which more than paid for my books. So instead of just buying the amount of books I sold, I bought 1,000 books. So now I have books to sell all over the country and all over the world. And people are already hitting me up. I'm selling books. I haven't even sent one book out yet because I just got them 2-3 days ago. And I've already got more people just on hearing about it who are buying books from me. Thank you, Victoria. So everything I do, as you can see a pattern, is great idea, figure out the most efficient way to do it to maximize profits, and then excellent marketing. And it takes a ton of work. I mean, you're looking at my site right now, and there's a Facebook, a Twitter, Instagram page. Click on the Instagram page. So if you click on the Instagram page, it should take you there. Hopefully I'm not going to be. So if you look, again, my book hasn't come out yet, right? And if you scroll up to the top, look at the top, I have 1,014 followers, and my book hasn't gone for sale yet.
That's some good marketing.
Right. And so this is what I do. And I took pictures. I took video. I had the company in China. I said, I need 2 minutes of video of you guys actually putting the books together. So it's like, people are willing to help you if you ask. And so I've been encouraging people all along. I'm showing everybody the process. I'm getting people vested into it before even the first book comes out. I went to the zoo. The Okapi Conservation Project put me together with the zoo. So I went to the zoo and I met Okapis. I have a video, if you scroll down a bit, with me right there, with Okapis. I'm reading the book to an okapi. If you know, I mean, like, it's crazy. If you keep scrolling, keep going down, keep going. There's keep going. There, that one on the left, where she's holding the leash. If you play the video, I don't know if you can. It's literally me standing in front of an okapi. Standing in front of an okapi with my book. If this isn't marketing,
I love it.
I mean, like, you know, I don't know what is.
This is
perfect.
But again, none of this happens.
Are you teaching this somewhere? Because I think we all need some help with the marketing.
Well, here's the thing.
Gee, wow, this is great. Okay, I'm sorry. You're just really versatile. That's all.
Well, here's the thing. None of this happens by accident. So people always say to me, because I call huge people. I mean, I've met some of the biggest people in the world. I've worked with them. And a lot of times people are like, well, how did you get that guy? And I go, I called him on the phone. You know, if you have a good idea or something to sell somebody or something good enough to pique their attention, just like somebody contacts me to pique my attention, if I have something good enough to pique somebody else's attention, they're going to listen, just like I'll listen to somebody else. So that's the key to the whole thing. But you don't accidentally like fall into like I'm at a zoo meeting copies. There's 1,000 steps that led up to that moment, but that moment was incredible because I got like so many people were checking out that video because it's like, it's such a strange thing to see. But again, all of this goes towards marketing. And if you're not marketing, then you're dead in the water already and you're wasted all the energy before it.
Right. So, I know this question might be off the radar, but because you help, people go to you to pitch shows. You deal with getting shows and, on, different types of, networks. But you're a show. So has anybody ever told you that? Because this is really a show, of all the different stuff you're doing. I mean, it's great stuff. Not to say you would do it, but has that ever even been an idea?
Well, I'll tell you a good story, 2 stories. When I worked with Burnett, they were like, we got to get you on The Apprentice, not The Apprentice, on Survivor. Like they all wanted me to go on Survivor. Not that I could because I worked there, but they're like, you're the guy we want on Survivor. And I'm like, I would do it. First of all, because I'm starving. I'm starving when I right after I eat a meal. Like,
hey, get me on, make you afraid.
I'm not doing it. And then I'll tell you another funny story. When I was pitching a network once. And I'd known this guy and this man and this woman who are VPs. I'd known them well, and for whatever reason, I just wanted to run a show by them. I didn't want it to be super formal. And I called them. And I'm like, hey, I just want to pitch you guys a show. They're like, no, come in. And I'm like, no, let's just do it on the phone. No, come in. We want a meeting. I was like, okay. So we set a meeting for a week or whatever, and I just want to get their opinion because a lot of times I'll pitch shows and I'll just do a short little like, is this right for you guys? I don't know if I want to go super deep into it if it's not right for you, because quite often I know exactly where the show belongs if I think it's going to belong somewhere. And I go in and I pitch the show. When I'm pitching shows, I'm animated, as you can see, and I'm up and down and I'm standing and I'm like, and then we do this and then we do that, we blah, blah, and I'm like, I'm all over the place. At the end of the show, at the end of the pitch, I said to the guy, I said, so what do you think? They're like, we don't think it's right for us. And I'm like, look, man, I'm like, I could have just done this on the phone. I'm like, I pitch you all the time. I'm like, I just want to run by you. And his words exactly were, yeah, we know. You're just so entertaining. We wanted you to come in. And I'm like, am I a monkey? I'm like, are you like lining me up to come in and like get excited and pitch you because you want to be entertained? Right. And I know, look, I know I'm a handful. My wife will tell you I'm a handful. My daughter, everybody know, I know I'm a handful, but at least I admit it,
So now, so I wanted to go back to actually you're having this is great, which is the virtual camp for people. So basically anybody from anywhere, right? Can like,
but listen, there's a group of people, I've had people apply for my internships and I've had to say like, usually it's somebody recommends somebody to come do this. I've had people come to it and it's okay. But, look, I don't want to get into ageism, but I find that anybody who's not really either in college or coming out of college, just doesn't have the heart of it. I've had people who are like, yeah, I really want to do this. I'm changing my life. I'm changing this. I'm changing that. But the problem is, you know, life happens. And when you're in the middle of it, it's very hard to focus on something like this. Mm-hmm. So again, I don't chase people. Once I determine that, like, and I'm very honest about what this is, you know, and I tell these people, I go like, I don't chase you. Like, I'm like, you know, I go, you have to do the work. You have to be intense if you want to do this, you know, and you have to be really gung ho. And it's most people fall off very quickly. They fall off the radar very quickly. And they just stop. They just literally you know, they just, you know, in a way they start ghosting me. And I give them a lot to do before they even start. It's like they have to read like 40 treatments. You have to watch like 40 sizzles. I make them tell me like what they've learned from it. And it's like, I very quickly learn if people are like really want to do this kind of thing. You know, because I want.
No. I'm telling you, this has been like the craziest show today.
It is. And it's the best. But I want to ask, like, what you would say the most successful show was, but it just didn't go strong. You know, that's what I want to know. It didn't go strong on the air. So he's trying to get back in, you guys. So stay. He's probably just having some technical difficulty. Just
same here. Like literally, my internet, my whole electricity went out.
And of course, if you guys have any questions, I know there's a lot of you listening out there that's not necessarily in on the live, but if you jump into the live, then you can actually ask him questions, which is really, really great. So did he talk a little bit about the camp and everything? Because I see that's the question I left off with. So he's talking about how to get into the camp, right? Yeah, I wanted to talk about that a little bit more to get into the camp. So he has to re-enter, you guys. He's coming back. So yeah, I wanted to see how that program goes, and then for anybody who's interested in how that works. But you know, yeah, that's one of my things. But I hope you guys are enjoying the show. Let me see who had a comment. Oh, thank you so much, Victoria. We appreciate it. Sorry about the technical difficulties. He will be back.
Thank you. Gosh, thank you for supporting us.
Yeah. And these are for us who are listening. So I want to tell you before he jumps back in, we're just having a little technical difficulties. We are on with Darryl Silva. And if you have questions about, you know, how he got into his journey, he has his own entertainment production company. And of course, people pitch to him to where they can possibly have a great pitch for him to go on a show. So of course, and you can find him and you can actually pitch a show to him, an idea. And he also has a camp. So we're getting back in on that, as well as he has his own tequila brand out, which is like, that's really exciting. I love these bottles. And his own book that he was talking about, children's book, which is really, really, really great. So hold tight, you guys. Don't leave. You know, we've got something for you. But of course, we're here with Darryl Silva, the creator and director of the Idea Factory. So he probably just kind of lost his internet reception. And if you guys have some questions, make sure that, you know, you jump in and ask and jump in the room. There's people who I'm sure who are probably listening on one of the podcast channels. And so they're not in the room. But if you're on Facebook, if you're on LinkedIn, if you're on YouTube, feel free to ask us questions. But these are some of the shows here. It's pretty cool, huh? And he worked on The Apprentice, I think we're talking about, and a few other shows. But these are some of the shows that are pitched.
Wheel of Fortune. He was one of the Wheel of Fortune and The Price is Right.
Yeah,
so he did a lot of work with those two programs as well. I'm like, we need to fill this out, Rose. Let's do it. We have to be very like, I don't know. You ready for the camp?
And so let's go into, we're talking about his Camp Hit TV, to where actually this is all virtual, and you can actually register here. And of course, then he has some really great stuff that he can teach you and show you. And of course, it's all virtual, so you can be anywhere and just register here, right on about post-production, production. All the information is pretty much in here. Development things that you can learn, where you can learn the skills to do all of these things to possibly pitch a show, which would be super great. So we're hoping that he gets back really, really soon. So sorry, you guys. We're sorry about that. and to talk a little more about Darryl Silva. So for everybody who's unfamiliar with us, I'm Rose from McDonald Bookkeeping. And of course, we decided to host Entrepreneur Life, entrepreneurlife.show, myself and Shamara. And where we bring a lot of resources to business owners, even not just business owners, from all types of industries, right?
Right.
So yeah, we bring connections, basically. So he's a great connection if you have a show to pitch, maybe how he branded himself, marketed himself, his book. He gave really great resources on books. We're just waiting for him to jump back in the room. Who else? We've had a lot of great people on the show, right? We've had, you know what? I'm going to go to our show site so you can see everybody we've had on the show until he returns. How about that? So hang in there. Do not leave. So if you're ever interested, you have some great ideas for our show. You can see some of the great interviews that we've had. And we actually, here we are now. We are live. Hey, there he's coming. He's coming back. So let me get out of mine. Woo! There he is. We were just like filling up time, Darryl, because we just love you.
Sorry, I actually just went to my phone because I don't want to take a chance on the computer again. So
I'm telling you, today is just crazy with these technical issues.
Yeah,
well, we were talking a little bit more about the camp and, how to get involved in that. Everything that you've shared so far has been great. I think you've pumped a lot of people up that are in the entrepreneurship space like us, who just need the motivation to keep going, because sometimes it's a challenge, but everything that you're saying is so motivational, and we're so excited to have you be a part of the show. So tell us some more about the camp.
Well, first let me say, don't be fooled. It's hard for me. When I say it's hard to sit down and write, I don't want people thinking oh, Darryl's getting, I don't sleep very much, but there's days where I literally do nothing. I've had to turn to my wife at the end of the day and go I've done nothing today. I'm blanked. I can get just like everybody else. I can get lost on the internet for 3 hours and don't know why I just served 3 hours.
Right.
I'm nothing special. I'm just right. I'm right more often than I'm wrong in a good way. That's all it is. But listen, if people are interested in an internship, they should log on and write me stuff. But you don't have to have an internship to pitch me shows. I always tell people if everybody always says, this is what my wife always says. People will go to her and go can I pitch your husband a show? And she goes, yeah. He'll tell you he'll be happy to hear your show and tell you every reason why it will never sell. But what I do is I tell them why it won't sell, and then I give them the information. I don't just say this show sucks, go away from me. I go this is why it won't sell. This is what does sell. Because I try and give people information so that they can come back to me, because to go full circle, I never know, where that great idea is or who that great idea is going to come from. And maybe they just need a little nudge,
What would you say your most successful show that someone brought to you that was the most successful, that you were most excited about?
Well, I mean, that's the thing. We had a show called Big Medicine, which was on TLC, and it's father and son team of surgeons who do gastric bypass surgery on super morbidly obese people. And it was a hit show right out of the get-go. Mm-hmm. And it only went 2 seasons, but it should have done 10 seasons. It only went 2 seasons because the network fired the president of the network, got fired, and the new person came on and decided that she was going to cancel 7 out of the top 10 shows, just summarily, because she wanted to the network and make it completely different. And in any other time and space, that show would have gone on for a decade. And the joke behind that was she spent $100 million and got fired a year later. But in time that occurred, it's very hard to get a show that went off the air back on the air.
Yeah.
Looking at my shows as a whole, I'm pretty proud of all of them. You look at my shows and you go well, I don't see a hit smash show that is mine, that came out of my brain. But I've done a lot of shows, but I've done shows that, that people remember, and even if it's just people in my industry, because I'll come into the show and I'll be oh yeah, I did God of the Girl. And they'll be just oh my God, you're the guy who did God of the Girl. So I've had a lot of shows that have garnered a lot of respect, which is great. Don't get me wrong. I'd love to have the Housewives. I'd love to have the Kardashians. But you have to live your lot in life, and you have to do what you do best. And maybe what my shows are more closer to a documentary maybe than a reality show.
Yeah.
That's just what I'm good at. And I think it's because I came from the feature world and I'm good at narrative. And so you can't crowbar a show and you can't crowbar yourself. Having said that, I'm out with an enormous game show right now that's like the equivalent of Deal or No Deal. And if that goes, I will probably only be remembered for that show. So, you never know, but I'm proud of the work that I've done. And, there's a lot of people more successful than me, but I'm okay with that. You know what I'm saying?
Do you sometimes feel that it's who you know? Well, we're obviously not in entertainment, but who you sometimes know to where you get?
Let me ask you a question. So I went to school at Northern Illinois University, the home of the Huskies, right? Does anybody in this world think that Northern Illinois University is a straight shot to Hollywood?
Oh, no, don't even.
Definitely not.
Right. So when I moved out here, I was in a fraternity in college. And when I moved out here, I knew almost nobody. But what I did have is I was the alumni relations for my fraternity. And I had a book of every alumni in every chapter of my fraternity across the country. Because I don't know why, but I had that book. And I took it with me. And I sat down one day and I looked up every single person who lived in Southern California and every single person who was in the entertainment industry in Southern California. I narrowed it down, even if they didn't go to my school and per se. And I called probably 120 people. And out of those 120 people, one guy agreed to meet with me. He was a writer. And we met for lunch at a place called Arts Deli in Studio City. And because I'm from the Midwest and because I got there super early and I had a pad of paper with me and I was all gung-ho, ready to go. I was there a half hour early waiting for him. Now, mind you, this is before we had cell phones. While I was waiting, there was a guy getting orders from, he was picking up for a movie on the lot at Paramount. And he was standing there waiting because it was an enormous order. And I just started a conversation with him. I was like, hey, I saw you have a hat. It said, this movie I know. I was like, did you work on that movie? And he's like, yeah. I was like, oh, my name's Darryl. I was like, what do you do? And he's told me what he did. And he goes, what are you doing? And I'm like, I just moved out here and I'm looking for a job in the entertainment industry. And I blah, blah, I did my whole song and dance for him. This guy, delivery guy, is picking up food. He's a production assistant. And he goes, do you have a college degree? And I go, yeah. He goes, would you be willing to work in a mailroom? And I go, yeah, I'd work in a mailroom. And he goes, now, again, this is going to date it. This was 1989. He goes, do you have a quarter? I said, yes. He goes, give it to me. I hand him a quarter. He walks over to the payphone, puts a quarter in the payphone, dials a number and says, yeah. He starts talking to this woman. He goes, what's your name? I go, Darryl Silver. And he goes, yeah. He goes, are you still looking for people? And she goes, I didn't hear the other side of the call, but he's like, yeah. Like, okay, great. Perfect. And he goes, do you have a pad of paper? He hung up the phone. He goes, do you have a pad of paper? And I go, yeah. And he goes, take down this number. Here's the name of this woman. You're meeting with her. She just got hired as the head of the mailroom at Universal Studios. You should go in and meet with her. You should call her and go and meet with her. I'm like, thank you so much. I called her. I got the job. Now I'm working in the mailroom at Universal. Again, this didn't just happen. I had to bring the book with me. I had to call 120 some odd people. I had to show up to this lunch. I showed up to the lunch a half hour early to make sure I wasn't late. All the events to get to having Mike Green standing there. And I started a conversation with him. I could have not started a conversation with him. All these steps that had to happen, don't just happen in a vacuum. And I produced my first project, I think at 26 or 27, a movie. And I had so many friends of mine say to me like, oh, you're always lucky. You're always in the right place at the right time. And I used to say to them, like, you're out of your mind. I'm like, do you know how many places I put myself in so that one day I'm in the right place at the right time? It's not just some magical thing that I showed up and all these things happen. The amount of steps that take to get to that moment of success are infinite. And if you're not doing those steps, then you're wasting your time. And you're wasting the time of the person who you might meet one day because they're not going to be interested in you because you're not a guy who's willing to take steps to get the job done.
Woo! I love it. Great.
I mean, you have to put the work in. Basically, you're saying you have to put
you
the
have
work
to put the work in. And
Darryl,
I love that.
out.
Yes. Okay, I don't know if you guys went into the whole tequila thing yet, but I need to understand what is that all about? Like, I love your bottles. Like, we were just looking at them, and I'm like,
It's
I'm guessing you love tequila because.
I'm happy to give you a secret about the tequila business. Are you ready for a secret?
Okay.
I'm sorry, it's just sexy, and I don't even drink. I'm just like,
I know.
So here, this goes into marketing again.
oh my God, go ahead.
So when you get, like, our tequila tastes great. We tasted a ton of tequilas. Our tequila tastes great. But the reality is, when you go to distillery, our distillery doesn't just pour our tequila. They probably pour 25 different brands, okay? So they might pour a brand. There's this thing on a tequila bottle called a nom. It's a number. It's like $14.92. Every bottle has a different number on them. But the number relates to the distillery where that it was poured, and it's the nom is the name of the distillery name. It's so you know where that tequila came from. So the juice. So the juice in my bottle, okay, you might be able to get on a shelf at your liquor store, okay, for, you know, let's say the Blanco, the white one. You might be able to get it for like $20. The exact same juice in my bottle is going to cost you $35 because of the bottle. But at the end of the day, the juice is the exact same juice. But the question again becomes all about experience. Do you want to have an experience with my bottle, or do you want to have experience with a clear bottle with a blank label? It's no different when you go to Costco and you look at what's generic. You know, Costco doesn't own a toilet paper company. You know, it's called Kirkland, but they're getting it from the same people who make Charmin. You know, when you look at all the generic foods, it's just another brand. And so, you know, the difference is what you're paying for. And what people are paying for with mine is a cool experience, just like anything else. You could buy 1,000 different kind of couches, and they're all going to basically do the exact same thing. You're going to sit down and watch TV, but one looks a lot nicer in your living room. And so, it comes to marketing. It's how you market your product. And if you're, and it's okay to be in the business of a generic bottle if you're selling 1 million of them. If you're selling, I wish I had a bottle that's selling 3 million a year generic. That would be lovely. That's just not.
Okay, so now let's go to the store. Okay, so basically with the branding, where did this come from? So oh no, there he is. Where did this come from? Where did the whole, because I actually love this right here.
I know. I love
And you know what?
The old school feel to it.
When I first saw it, I said it just said alcohol. It just said tequila.
Are you talking about the visual that I'm saying?
Yeah.
The visual, yeah.
So what happened was we built this company, and I needed a website. So one day I went on to Wix and I was like, oh shit, we need a website. And I just sat down one day and I built it. And I was like, the story of the brand is me and my friend Jim doing it together. So I was like, I found this old timey picture because that's kind of how Jim and I joke around that we're like. And I was like, okay, Jim, you're the one on the left, I'm the one on the right. And I created this narrative.
Okay, another like just fly by night and it works. Obviously it works.
No, I love it.
Yeah.
That I'm a writer, so, yeah, it works because I'm a writer. And, not everybody might be as creative as me, but you know what? You can hire somebody on Fiverr for next to nothing who's more creative than you. There's a lot of things I'm not great at that I have to talk to people. The most important thing, which is something that everybody hears about entrepreneurship, they're not saying anything new, but surround yourself with people much smarter than you and people who know how to do the things you don't know how to do well. But the difference
you got to grab the mic again. Drop the mic again.
Yeah.
My wallet.
So we said that.
But the trick is pay attention to what they're doing so that you learn it. Don't just let people do things and you pay them. Know what they're doing. That doesn't mean you're not going to use them in the future, but you have better knowledge of what they're doing so that you can make better decisions. Too many people hire somebody. Like when I have a plumber out here, I'm sitting over him, not because I'm watching to make sure he does a good job. I want to know what he's doing and how he's doing it.
Same. That is so true. I tend to do that too. I think, Rose, isn't that how I was when you were teaching me certain things? I was like, what? Let me understand. I'm not going to do it, but let me understand what you're doing. I think you in entrepreneurship, you definitely have to go in that mindset of learning, constantly wanting to learn, constantly wanting to evolve, and take the initiative and keep moving forward. So, I mean, everything that you're saying is so great. Thank you so much. I love knowledge. Woohoo!
I'm exhausted.
Okay, so we're almost at the closing of our show. And really, I'm really truly not because you're here, our guest, but because I really enjoyed everything about this show. You have so much to share, more than just I don't even know what to say. You have so many different facets. I feel like I've done nothing in life compared to everything.
I know. That's why I say we have to hurry up and do some things in our life.
I'm older. You will have the experiences that I had when you get to be my age. You do.
Okay, so sorry, I think you cut out a bit. Okay, so I want to say to everybody, thank you so much for tuning in, everybody who has been listening, and we've been streaming live on several different podcasts. If you've been watching, I see a few of you in the room on Facebook or LinkedIn or live. We're so thankful to have Darryl Silver with us. We want you to make sure that you go to, if you want to get a hold of him, you can go to our page, entrepreneurlife.show. You'll get every connection that you need to get a hold of him. But also, we want to leave you with everything about Darryl, and he'll tell you where you can get a hold of him to buy the tequila, to the book, maybe the entrepreneur, his program that he has for his virtual classes. Just, you go ahead, Darryl.
Give him the spiel.
So you can find me on Instagram at TV Darryl. You can find me on Facebook at Darryl Silver. Obviously, I'm not hard to find. If you just type in Darryl Silver on the internet, I come up.
Yes, he does.
I come up. I don't hide from the world. If you have a child, like here, and I'll kind of go through this because if you want my tequila, go on our website. It's mostly on the West Coast because we sell it so fast we can't expand quick enough. So you can find it on our website, Pure Spirits. But I can kind of end with this one little thing. I've done a lot of cool things in my life. I've traveled the world. I've lived in Europe. I own a tequila company. I, produced great shows. I've met presidents and, super famous people. And I have to tell you that one of the greatest joys of my life currently is a child reading my book and sending me a picture or seeing a little video of it. I've already gone to like a half a dozen kindergarten classes, and then they draw pictures and send them to me. And like every time somebody reads my children's book, or I see something about it and it brings joy to somebody, I can't tell you in all the things I've done. I said to my wife, I'm like, they're like slivers of joy in my life. It's just a teeny little moment of joy it brings, but they're coming on a regular basis. Like I'll see somebody bought my book. I'll be like, oh my God, somebody else is going to read it. And then I hope they're going to read it and then post it. And then I see a kid with it and then I'm invited something. Like it is the least profitable thing that I do. And it is the most joy that I get out of all the businesses that I do right now. And so I would end it by saying like, try and find that in your life because, it would be a shame to go through your life without those moments of joy because it really does bring me great moments of joy. So if you have a child and you want to have them read this book, it's super fun. It's super interactive. There's questions that are asked throughout the book where the child has to learn, where they're asked a question and when the page is turned, they get the answer. So children, after they're done reading the book, feel really good about it. And then on further readings, they feel good about the fact that they remember the answer to it. And so the joy that's for me about my book is like kind of more than anything right now. So I'm happy to talk to people about on Facebook about or wherever about entertainment or liquor. But the real joy right now in my life is the book. So if you want to give me joy for doing this hour and whatever thing, I
got you. I have a 5-year-old, so I'll get your book. And we're going to read together and she's going to enjoy it.
it's going to be on Amazon, but it's only on Etsy right now because I haven't sent out the Kickstarter.
Okay.
I didn't want people to be able to buy my book until the people who supported me on Kickstarter had it in their hands. I felt out of respect for all these people who helped me launch the book. I didn't like I could be selling them on Amazon today and sell them all over I could sell them all over the world, but I'm not doing it. I'm going to wait till every last person on Kickstarter gets it. And then I have a bunch of people who bought it randomly on Etsy because I threw it up there just as people were asking me, where can I buy it? Where can I buy it? So I was like, okay, once Kickstarter was done, I threw it up on Etsy. So if you want to buy a copy, they're all going out at the same time anyways. You'll get it very quickly. Go to Etsy, Poppy Dio Copy, you can pick it up. But that, soon it will be everywhere. It'll be at every bookstore. It'll be in Amazon. I've already got all the digital versions are ready to go. But again, I don't want to put any of that out because you have to respect the people who support you. And once they think you're not respecting them, you've lost them.
Right. And you said, when is the book dropping? I think I missed that. Might have dropped on.
Literally have 1,000 books. And my wife just went on an errand, and when she and my daughter and my son, when they get back, we have 300 envelopes, all the books, the stickers, we have everything ready to go. We're going to be putting up today. I'm signing them today, and we're shipping them on Monday. I'm going to the post office and I'm shipping 250, 300 books on Monday. So everything's going out immediately. So and then once they're all out, then it's Amazon, then it's Barnes and Nobles, then it's the digital versions that are going up on Amazon. Everything goes everywhere as soon as all my people actually have their books. Again, marketing, because once my people get my books, they can start to give reviews on my books, which will support when it goes on Amazon and everywhere else. Thank you, marketing.
Well, thanks again so much for being on our show, and for everybody who has been listening and watching. We are this was the best show ever.
Yes. We can't say that, Rose. Okay, you're gonna offend all the other people.
All of our guests, it wasn't the best show. It was.
No, it was really great. This was a really great show. Thank you for sharing your experiences, and just your entrepreneurship journey. I think you motivated quite a lot of people here today, and we're excited for for what's left to come. And definitely be grabbing a copy of your book for sure.
Thanks, everybody. I really appreciate it. It's super fun for me. As you can tell, I like to talk.
Yeah. Which is good for us because we can sit back and just let you do your thing.
Yeah. And we will be back next Saturday with another guest. Check out our page, entrepreneurlife.show, 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Bye, listeners and viewers. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Thank you, Darryl.
Thank you.